And now, the right reasons.
Yo, New York in the house. It's Brooklyn in the house. Uptown in the
Welcome to The Right Reasons. I'm Juliette Littman.
I'm David Jacoby, and we have a special edition, a special guest, John Carr.
Really happy to be here. Thanks for having me.
John Carr's basically produced every television show that we love.
Every single one. It's like kind of
Yeah.
it's like a little overwhelming.
I'm intimidated.
Like, where do we go?
I'm
Where do we
intimidated.
start? Yeah. Most recent credit is co-executive producer of Vanderpump Rules.
God.
So I guess we should just start there. It's been
Yeah, first of all, I just want to start just by saying thank you. Just by thanking you for bringing this into our lives.
Can I thank you guys for just being fans of the show and talking about it all the time on your
No.
podcast? I know you're a little
No.
less of a fan now, and we'll talk about that.
Yeah, we'll get
Whoa, putting me on the hot seat already.
Yeah, I like it. You didn't know this was going to be a tough interview for Juliette.
Seriously. Would have come a little more
I came here with an
prepared.
axe to grind.
But not only Vanderpump Rules, but give us a bit of the bio, 30-second origin story. I know
All
it's
right.
hard to
Well,
do.
I worked on the most recent season of Below Deck. I also did last season of Vanderpump Rules.
yes,
There was
yes.
another ill-fated Bravo show I worked on called Gallery Girls.
We love
Ill-fated,
Gallery
what are you
Girls.
talking about?
A one-season show.
Please.
Which was a lot of fun. And I've spent some time in the Bachelor family of shows. So I've done a couple seasons of The Bachelor. I've done The Bachelorette. I did the final season of Bachelor Pad. And going back farther, I did a little over half the run of The Hills, and I worked on The City as well, the spinoff.
It's like
Oh my God.
It's like there's no other show I can imagine wanting to discuss except for that one. It's those ones. So let's talk Vanderpump first.
Okay.
So this season is and probably still on, first of all. This has been like just I can't believe we've finally seen Sheena get married. So how much was the wedding like? Did you know going into the season to be the focal point of the show?
We definitely knew that towards the end of the season there would be the wedding because Sheena's been talking about it since I met her.
Yeah, I was about to say. How'd you know?
And she's really good at trying to she was basically trying to bully us into just making sure we'd be shooting when the wedding would happen and that it was all going to line up perfectly with the season. But it happened to work out just right for us.
Well, at what point was she like, production guys, I have one request. The morning after my wedding, I want you guys to be there. I want to do a shoot at like 8 a.m. the morning after my wedding. Like, are you making her do that or is she making you do that? Like, how does it work?
That's definitely us just being there. Like, my favorite thing is just catching people when they're still asleep and they're waking up and that grogginess and all that. I just love that. And, we always let them know when we're going to be there and it's up to them how late they want to stay up. So yeah, she knew we would be there, but didn't put any extra effort in.
Do you think the Vanderpump cast do they act any differently for the cameras? Like how what percent of them are we getting? Like is it more or less? Like are they playing it up?
Here's what I love about this cast, and I didn't work on season 1, but after I watched season 1, I was so excited to come in season 2 for this reason. Is you can just tell, like, here are people that have really truly been friends for years and years and years, like 6-7 years. And they basically, when the show started, and I've confirmed this with them now that I've gotten to know them all, they got together and said, let's do this thing for real, and let's not hold back. And that's why they're my favorite cast that I've ever worked with, because
Really?
they're just unbridled. And if someone is embarrassed and doesn't want to talk about something, it's not me that comes down on them, it's the other cast members. And they just want it to be real. And they just feel like, this is our chance, let's not have regrets. So I love that about them.
One of the things we definitely wanted to talk to you about was sort of we can't figure out what we love about it, but Juliette does have a theory about reality shows that you sort of touched on.
Yeah.
That is one of the reasons we love this cast.
Like when you have an actual friend group, when you're not trying to like force them together, but they naturally want to hang out. Like there's just that comes across on screen basically, and you can tell like that this is fewer people that know each other. Their drama is real. Like it's just more authentic.
It makes all the difference in the world. And I think the audience picks up on that immediately. And maybe they're not thinking that to themselves as the audience, but you're just like, I don't know what it is, but I'm just more into this. And so, yeah, you need a group of people that are all extroverts, and it helps if they're questionable decision makers. But also, the fact that they know each other, that they care so deeply. One of the things that we actually struggle with is like, Sheena and Katie were like about to kill each other like 4 weeks ago,
Yeah.
and now they're like besties in Miami and going, hanging out at the wedding and all that stuff. But the true story is that they were such good friends 6 years back and for a long stretch. And so they're just kind of going back to that. But sometimes that's confusing to the audience. That's the only downside, though. It's like they're so tangled. Their history.
Does production subsidize her wedding?
That's a really good question. Sheena was really excited for us to come in and just give her like the princess wedding.
Yeah, of course.
And we were just like, absolutely not, because we don't want that. Our audience doesn't want that. It's not real. So we're so much more interested in like, how are you going to give yourself this princess wedding? And we saw her go about doing that, and she is relentless. She would make an amazing producer because she gets things done. And she,
can tell. She was so mean to her wedding coordinator, who admittedly was not doing a good job.
She was like, what are you doing? She's like picking up cups, you know what I mean? Like that was probably some creative editing, you know, but like they definitely made it seem she wasn't that good.
No, she wasn't.
Who would have thought if you find a wedding coordinator on Instagram it wouldn't work out?
No, actually I disagree. The whole wedding industry like relies on like Instagram and Pinterest. Like it's like a major. You don't know like girls getting married.
I don't. Are you already planning yours?
No, but I just know I have so many friends getting married. Like in that like Pinterest and Instagram is like vital to like the party planning universe. So I don't think that's that weird. But she wasn't pretty. It seemed like she was a bad wedding coordinator. She was blatantly not doing her job. One other. Well, this is a little digression, but. The timing of Sheena's dance seemed really tight. She was really upset.
Very upset.
Yeah, but she was like at 24 seconds. Like that's when we're walking in. That's a little hard to manage. Like
that's why you always hire a bilingual singer, because if you sing the song once in English, the timing doesn't work out. Boom, just go right to French.
Yeah, seriously. Let's talk about Miami Girl a little bit. What was her?
Miami Girl.
Anna Marie. So. How much did Kristen bring her into the show? How much did you guys know about her when the filming of the season began? Like, just walk us through all of that.
I'm so excited to be here to talk about this because it's a proud moment for me and for the show in terms of the behind the scenes people.
And I'm so excited for this. I've been more excited for this since I had a kid. Bring it, John Carr.
Here's the reason I'm proud of it. I'm proud of it because of how little I had to do with it. So as producers, you know, we sit around and so we knew coming into the season that there were these rumors circulating. There was some stuff in the tabloids, which is where the show's at now. If someone screws up, it might make it into the tabloids. Mm-hmm. And we knew that Kristen was salivating over this and was all over it, and she carried that right into the first episode right away when we started filming. It was Sheena's birthday, and Kristen was all getting that story going. And, you know, it kind of fizzled out at that point. And so we start to, you know, we always want answers, we want resolution, we hope that the cast is relentless enough to get there. And this one just seemed like it was going to go away in a relatively unsatisfying way.
Like Kristen would just be talking about the text messages and nothing would ever materialize.
Yeah, and
a couple
Tom never admitted anything.
Don't translate
to
like...
Yeah, and Ariana, it's all about Ariana. If Ariana was going to doubt Tom, then that's really interesting, but she didn't doubt him for a second, so we're kind of like...
That's amazing.
We just hit like a dead end.
Didn't doubt him for a second, or was just kind of like, I'm just going to be blissfully ignorant about my boyfriend?
We can have our theories about that, for sure.
What's yours?
I'll just say there are moments where as producers, we do sit around and we're like, wouldn't it be awesome? And of course, we literally, like a joke we were making is, we got to fly this Miami girl in just to juice things up. And of course, we went on a trip to Miami.
Right.
Now, I don't know if it's perfectly clear on the show, the girl actually lives in New York, but like, she's a Miami girl because Tom and Jax, they were just all partying in Miami, and she was there with her friends, happened to be partying.
So she flew even further.
Wow.
But even when we're in Miami, we're like, wouldn't it be awesome if that girl happened to show up? So of course you have that 1 second of thinking like, well, let's find her and let's like get her a plane ticket. But then you just stop yourself immediately, because one thing that you have to realize is like I have like an ongoing working relationship with the cast, and so if I'm just out like trying to ruin their lives every second of my life, like that working relationship ends. They start to clam up. They no longer feel open on camera, and then you have a lousy show. So
but you can't be best friend guy either.
No, it's a really tricky relationship. But what I can't be doing is like actively trying to screw them over behind their backs in artificial ways. But if Kristen is trying to screw Tom, if they're doing that to each other, they know that their job and my job is to be there with cameras. So we heard, and the timing of this was amazing and was totally captured on the show, is like Kristen has this amazing talk with Tom in Miami, tears, hugs. And a few days later, she lets us know, like, oh yeah, the Miami girl is in LA. And now
did Kristen fly her in?
So I will say that I don't always believe everything the cast tells me, but my understanding is that,
like you're
that
a
this
camp
girl
counselor.
Oh no, it's a lot of that. It's a lot of that. Like I just get so much of my job is people just lying to my face. And me just deciding not to take it personally and kind of try to roll it in and do the best I can. Like last season, for example, like Tom swore on his life to me all season long that he never ever made out with Ariana or ever cheated on Kristen with Ariana. That turned out not to be true. Kristen swore on her life and Jack swore on his life for months that they never slept with each other. To me, behind the scenes, and I just want to know because I need to know where the cameras should be pointing and if it's worth. People are talking about it, but is it really worth their screen time? So I always want to know, but they just lie. They lie.
I mean, I think we know they're all really good liars. It's probably one
they're
of the things.
amazing.
They're great.
It's just a little, it's like a little scary.
And I totally understand if I was in their position. I'm certain I would do the same thing.
Back to Miami Girl.
Yeah, so I
Miami Girl. So Kristen just lets us know. Oh, by the way, this girl has some family in LA, and she happens to be out here. Okay. And so we get. Now at this point, now I get all over it because I didn't set this up, I didn't make it happen. But I'm like, well, Kristen, you're talking to this girl. What's going to happen? And Kristen says, well, she really wants to confront Tom. And I say, well, as you know, the cameras have to be there.
Just the logic doesn't check out. Like, oh, I slept with some dude in Miami, and he said I didn't, so I'm just going to confront him about it.
There's the meta level, which the show doesn't love to put on the show, but the girl felt like she had put her story out, and now Tom, Kristen was basically telling her like everyone on the show is just shitting on you, and the girl I think was some kind of fan of the show, and
probably
I think
it's why
she obviously
Tom.
wanted to be on the show, or she wouldn't have. Whether she was in town to visit relatives, whether Kristen paid for whatever happened there. She did want to be on the show.
I thought the white dress was an interesting choice.
Right?
I really thought that was an interesting choice.
The lacy thing.
Yeah.
Looks good with her red hair.
Yeah, right.
The lighting in Sir didn't highlight that, though.
But that's when we, as producers, kick in with a clean conscience, where we say this stuff is happening, and we're definitely not going to miss it.
Right.
But there's no way we could have made that happen. Like I talk to Sandoval all the time. I really want him to like and respect me, and Ariana as well. And I can't lose that, or I can't do my job anymore. So they know that not everything's always going to go their way, and they can be mad about that. But if once they lose their trust in the show in general, then the show gets worse.
So he walks off, and you're like, Tom, like she's here. We have to shoot this. Like, this is going to happen. Do you want to manage the message yourself, or just like let everyone else do it for you? Like, what's your conversation with Tom that makes him get behind the bar and obviously know she's coming, and then have that conversation?
Well, the beauty of it is, he was working and he left his shift, so I don't have to talk to him. What do his bosses think about it? Let's turn our cameras on that. And we saw Lisa get on the phone.
Peter dropped the hammer.
Yeah. Well, we saw on the show Lisa got on her phone and called Tom, and Tom was definitely thinking about not coming back that night with Ariana. But then
did he know that Miami Girl would be coming?
Yeah.
What
else was going to happen that night?
I don't know, but like, did he know? He said that he was working. It's like, did he know specifically that she was going to be coming in that evening?
I would hope that if he did know, that he would have had a much better reaction planned out than looking really guilty walking
I liked it. No, I didn't, dude. I didn't sleep with her. It didn't happen.
Yeah. No, I mean, I don't know. I think again, something I'm really proud of is what you saw is really how it went down, and then. I mean, he wasn't happy. He really wasn't happy with me the next day. His first idea was that, of course, that we flew her out, and
that was my first idea.
Yeah, and I understand why anyone would feel that way. And I'll say that
I kind of want to go through the production's credit card receipts just to like I want to audit your.
I will submit our records for your audit. Absolutely. What I've found in my career is the most outrageous moments, the ones that no one believes, are absolutely the most real ones, because we wouldn't dare do that as producers for all the reasons I just said. And
you can't ask Tom and Ariana to dance and almost kiss for 25 seconds. You know what I mean? Like, that's just that magic just gets captured. You know?
Exactly. So the best producing is always not producing at all. And then if you want to know the job of a reality TV like producer in the field, generally it's like to just make people vocalize their thought bubbles in ways that can be uncomfortable. So a lot of times it's like, look, I know this is like a big thing that's going on, and I know because you're a human being, you'd prefer not to talk about the most difficult thing going on in your life, but talk about it. And so again, it's not. We never say this, but we do say just put your thoughts in your mouth.
Yeah.
And so that's the job that we do, and that's what they sign up for. And again, what I love about this cast is they're so on board for that.
Your relationship must be tricky with them. Like, if you're having a birthday party, do you invite the cast?
No, not at all.
So it's like it's a professional relationship.
Yeah, you try to keep it professional. It's
Does
very
a day
like
go by where you don't get a text from somebody in the cast?
absolutely not.
But it's got to be just like, hey man, crazy Super Bowl. You know what I mean? So it's got to be
there's so much
friends.
friendliness, and I really want to keep it. I like to be really friendly with cast. There's a lot of hugs and high fives and fist bumps and and all that stuff. And then it's just I'll just it's weird. It's a strange relationship. I really want the cast to feel that they want to confide in me and that they can confide in me. And again, that's part of the successful operation of the show. And so I feel like I'm doing my job. I also do most of the interviews, and so. So then again, it's just like banter that you can get established with them, so they can be really natural sitting in the chair.
But dude, some of those interview bites are second takes and third takes. Like it's pretty clear.
Yeah, I mean, what you have to do there is, and again, if they're acting, if you're feeding them words, then it's just bad people who are not actors trying to act. That just tends not to work very well. But my job is definitely to just get them relaxed, get them talking, but then also thinking in terms of like, okay, what you just said was like 47 seconds long. Can we do the 7-second version of that? And kind of helping them get to there.
He just called them not actors.
Wow.
Shots fired.
Wow.
I've seen all their demos. Yeah, they're not actors? What do you mean, man?
Apologies.
They've got dreams. They've got
Apologies.
dreams, man. So one thing that we definitely want to talk to you about is our number one fan.
Can I interrupt? I just realized I did the thing that I would kill my cast for doing. I've been staring at the camera.
Oh.
Oh my God.
Yeah, people.
And all I tell my cast to do is never do that. Never do that.
400 people watch this.
Swiveling.
Yeah, people listen more than they watch.
We're gonna improve.
500 people listen.
Don't worry.
Yeah.
Don't worry about it.
Stassi.
Yeah, let's talk about Stassi.
Let's talk about
So
Stassi.
when she was at 2 seasons ago, when she was at SUR, she was certainly the
Queen bee.
Yeah, the queen bee, and sort of the eye of the hurricane that was all the drama around the restaurant.
Yeah.
She was the star of the show. She moves to New York. Whatever happens there, and I can see that your thought process is, all right, we're going to get another season. We need Stassi. It felt like you guys like Stassi, like you got to get out of here, like whatever it takes, like we'll put you up in this weird corporate apartment, you know what I mean, like come out here, and then you try to inject her in the thing. Like what was the strategy going into the season for Stassi's involvement?
Certainly, it was the topic of many conversations heading into the season. Because
before I one question, yes or no question, was there ever talks of her getting a spinoff?
No.
Whoa!
Yeah.
That is mind-boggling.
Second yes no question. Why the fuck not?
No. I can tell you why not. Just way too soon, and so she was doing a great job on a great show, but way too soon. The show is still coming into
like Lance
season
Stevenson.
3 is like this baby show.
Can't have her own
It was
team.
too soon,
Yeah, it's like the Lance Stevenson of reality TV.
And look at Lisa Vanderpump, who was the breakout star of a bigger show, Real Housewives of Beverly Hills, and
bigger in ratings.
And she got her spinoff only after the 3rd season of that, and stayed on her show.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And it takes that much to do it. And also, I think something that came out this season is, what did Stassi really have going on in her life? What would that spinoff?
What statement jewelry, dude?
Exactly.
Statement necklaces.
Exactly.
Necklaces that say something.
And she, I think in her mind, and I'm sure there are a lot of people in her ear telling you you're absolutely ready for your spinoff. And I'm sure very high levels of Bravo, there on some levels at some point they are or were or would have been open to that, but just too soon. Just wasn't.
So what was the plan for Stassi's involvement this season?
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, season 2 ended. She was in LA for a while. She'd been dating this guy starting at the end of season 2.
Shout out to Patrick.
Yeah, and she moved to New York, and we were very curious to see, did she have any interest in being on the show again? She wasn't sure. We certainly had interest.
She really quit SUR in real life. Like, I'm not.
Yeah, and she actually quit, and that came up in the season 2 reunion. She had quit before then,
Yeah.
and Lisa was mad at her for how she went about that. And so when we were getting close to filming, and we're still talking to Stassi, and she still had no idea if she wanted to be involved, because she just didn't want to have anything to do with these people, and was having this reinvention of herself. And we, talk about auditing our books. We had a whole budget put together to go out and do some shooting in New York.
Really?
Let's capture her life there and see what's going on. Find out if it's interesting. I don't think we would have just put a full-time crew there, but we were.
It's tricky. It's
we
tricky
were
to weave someone 3,000 miles away.
Well, there would have been
no.
She was still really good friends with Katie at that time, so maybe there would have been some visiting on one end or the other, and that's what was real, and that's what we were contemplating. And it would have been really hard to just have a full-time crew out there, and there wouldn't have just there wouldn't have been enough interesting things going on. But we thought maybe we could kind of keep her alive. But the last thing we wanted to do is just like have her put on a surge dress and like fake being there, and she just would never have done that, and we just wouldn't. You just can't do that, especially a show like this that's just so damn real. You know, like no one would have let her get away with that. None of the other cast members would. So now the big thing is, and here's another thing. So all of a sudden, magically, right around the time the show is starting, she moves back to LA.
Magically? So let's talk about that for a second.
Define magically.
Well, it was magical for us. Like I said, we were literally pricing hotels and like plane fare for our crew to go out to New York, and then she's like, "Oh, I think I'm moving to LA."
Do you think
and
she's
it's
motivated
literally
to do that because she wants
because
to be in the show?
No, it's literally her boyfriend got a new gig on Sirius Radio that was 2 a.m. A live show, 2 a.m. in New York, and he just thought that was crazy, so he thought he'd move to LA and he could do it at 11 p.m. and that's slightly better. And I think weighing on that too is Stassi being like, okay, let's do that because then I can be on the show. And it's another one of those things where we couldn't just tell her to do that the same way we couldn't fly Miami Girl in. Like it has to be rooted in truth or it just doesn't work. And I don't think it actually worked all that successfully because then she showed up and really wanted nothing to do with anyone, and it hasn't been a good season for her, and she's aware of that. It's hard to sit on the sidelines and chuck, throw rocks at everyone and have none of her own skin in the game.
This week was really bad on that level when she was making fun of Sheena's wedding dress and wedding.
That was a terrible dress.
It wasn't.
And she said, no, I'm defending Stassi. She also said, I really like the reception.
Yes, she did, but I don't know. She called her a hooker on her wedding day. It's really mean.
Was that her actual wedding day? I should ask you that.
Oh yeah,
Her and Kristen having that lunch did not happen on the same.
Our favorite thing in the world is Instagram. And did you see that in the first episode at Sheena's birthday party? There's an Instagram fight, and we love just capturing those moments. So we knew we wanted to try to get Stassi in somehow. So we wanted to be with her.
Was it at the same time? Concurrently shot?
Yeah. You just have to do that. Otherwise, it's an extra expense to us. That wedding is the biggest shoot we've ever done. But yeah, you want to just capture it all as real as you can.
So do you think she'll be back for the next season? Stassi?
Is there a next season?
Now those are two good questions. This season's been doing well. We don't have a word yet on a fourth season. Bravo.
Let's talk a little bit about ratings and talk about the business behind the show, because I don't really check in too much, but when I do check in, I'm like, oh, that's not bad.
Oh, it's so funny because for me, I look at our ratings and I'm stunned that they're not 5 times bigger, and it just seems like those numbers aren't huge, but that's what television is today. So we get
it's a passionate audience, though.
So everything is super niche now, and every network knows exactly who their micro niche audience is, and Bravo does better or as well as than anyone, and they've got a really great audience where it's affluent and educated and just exactly what advertisers love. So we get our 1.5 million overall viewers, and in the key demo we we're getting toward around 1 million. We just got over 1 million.
Feels low, right?
And it just seems like those numbers aren't huge, especially relative to all the people that love the show and talk about it. I'm sure you guys have other friends that
vocal
you can talk
minority,
to the show about.
Yeah.
But what the ratings don't reflect is DVR numbers and iTunes and all the other ways that people are watching it. So I think the number actually is about 5 times the size of that.
And Bravo has a really good app, actually. The Watch Now Bravo app is really good. I have a theory that Jacoby has scoffed at, but have you noticed there's an overlap between NBA fans and Vanderpump Rules fans?
Really? I know I'm an NBA fan and a Vanderpump Rules fan.
I have a very small sample size at Grantland, but I swear it's true.
I never thought you would say that into a microphone. You know what I mean? I knew that you'd say stuff.
There
but,
it is,
I didn't know
my
you'd say it
embarrassing
into
moment
a microphone.
of
Every
the
podcast she has an embarrassing moment.
There it is.
What's behind that? Do you think?
Just very small sample size of people that I know at Grantland.
Can I tell you, I play in a Monday night basketball game, and a bunch of dudes there, all they want to talk about every week is Vanderpump Rules.
It's anecdotal, but I swear, I think there's something to it. I really do. But so back to the actual show and Stassi. So do you already think ahead, how you would incorporate her again, or are you interested in doing that?
Well, they haven't greenlit another season, have they?
We're definitely talking about it. It's not official. I'll just say the ratings have been good. I think there's a decent chance of that. And of course, we talk about it a lot, and we talk to Stassi about it. And there's questions on both sides. I don't think Stassi enjoyed herself that much this season, and so I don't know. It'll be a question that hangs. It'll be something that's out there. I don't know now, but what we're not going to do is guess what, Stassi? Now you're Lisa's assistant.
Yeah.
Or something like
How did the conversations go for the next season? When do you expect to find out?
Well, the conversations are going on right now, and there's
Yeah.
there's this whole process of like submitting budgets or what it would cost.
2 seasons ago, I think you guys did like 10 episodes.
So season 1, it was 8 episodes, and then
Yeah.
a reunion and like a lost footage special, and then last season we did 14 episodes. Plus
And this season
2
you did
reunion
54
episodes. plus a special.
episodes.
And this season, we got up to 18 episodes, and
That's amazing.
And then we filmed our reunion about a week and a half ago, and there's another special on top of that. So there's
What
still a
was
few
the
more
best
episodes.
argument at the reunion?
Ooh, there are
Just
some
tease
good
it a little
ones.
bit. You don't have to spoil it.
If I can tease it, one thing that we did not see this whole season was Stassi in a room with Jax.
Yeah, I wanted to talk about Jax.
And there are times, and we'll actually see coming up in the season that she really doesn't want to be anywhere near him. But in the reunion, she really had no choice. So that's pretty fun.
I can imagine.
And also, we'll see more. Katie still feels pretty raw about the way Stassi has treated her.
I would too. If I was Katie. It's not cool.
Yeah, and the sneak MVP of the reunion was James.
Oh
who-
my God.
who is just has
James.
a lot of
So-
opinions about a lot of things.
It feels to me like James got fired in real life and then got rehired for the television show.
Well, okay,
That's what it feels like when I
yeah.
watch. You know what I mean? When I watch it, it's like I would have fired that guy too. And he seems pretty useless. You can find a busboy in Los Angeles. It's not like his VORP is, you know what I mean? Is that much higher at being a busboy. But he was good for the show. And I felt like there was a conversation between producers and Lisa to be like, look, like the guy's just a busboy. Like just keep him around because he's good for the show, which is good for you, which is good for the restaurant.
I hope that at some point you guys could have Lisa in here as a guest and try to tell her to do anything.
I wish there could be a tactful
I wish I could tell
conversation.
Lisa how to run a restaurant. Now, what's an interesting thing is, because she and Ken are like 50% owners, and then there's Natalie and Guillermo who we see on camera sometimes,
Yeah.
and they are also co-owners. And so I think Lisa kind of made this decision, and James wasn't sure if that was the real decision because all the owners hadn't talked it over, and then I think Lisa talked about it some more with Natalie and Guillermo and calmed down. And one thing that we feel very strongly about is it's not our business to run their business, and because it's really tempting. Like it'd be very easy for us to just go find someone who's absolutely crazy and like tell Lisa you have to hire this person in your restaurant, and now boom, like seems organic and all this stuff. But we just the luxury we have is that the show is good enough that we just don't have to do that stuff. And in terms of James, like certainly I was surprised. I had no idea. I thought Lisa was going to suspend him. I knew people were going to get in trouble that day. I was shocked that she fired him, and then I was hoping that she might take him back. And I might have, told him, hey, maybe you can get your job back. It might be worth trying. But at the same time, like he was dating Kristen, she was still working there. Like I was liking this relationship between him and Kristen. I wanted to keep following that, so he wasn't going to be off the show even if he lost his job.
What about someone like Vale?
He'll be off the show because he is going to be the next big music
the next
producer.
Calvin Harris.
Yeah, he is. He's like Mike Will made it. You know what I mean?
Mike Will.
Yeah, exactly.
What about someone like Vale though, who? Like, I know not everyone who works at the restaurant's on the show. So, like, when they hire someone new, how do you decide to put them on the show?
Yeah,
and if they're worthy, and like, but we won't even talk about Vale and Peter's date yet. We'll get there in a minute.
So part of our job is to keep tabs on who is getting hired at the restaurant and who's been working there for a while. There are people there that we actually think are interesting, but who have no desire to be on the show, and that's too bad. And then there just are people that are just aren't part of that kind of central clique that we follow. But we're always kind of keeping tabs on who's coming and going. And so what we'll do pretty regularly is we'll be like, oh, there's like 3 or 4 new people, and we'll do a day where we literally bring a camera in, and none of this will ever air, but it's just kind of like we call it's casting basically. We just see how they are on camera. And then that's also how I learn about them. If I'm going to be talking to them and getting to know them, I might as well have a camera there and just record it, and then we can see.
You're going to be your relationship.
Just check that out. And so, so Vale's really good friends with Christina Kelly and with Danny, who's another girl, and through them knows the rest of the cast. And so when she was coming in, that was like a no-brainer that we would want to talk to her. And then she's great, I think. So
well, she's TV talent, right? So she was on Young and the Restless or something like that.
Yeah, and so. So we knew, we absolutely knew, like once those episodes started airing with her, that people would be like, oh, they just cast an actress to be in. But like everyone there is an actress. You know what I mean? So.
Yeah, I think it's one thing that's just sort of really interesting about the show is they all kind of like moved to LA to be famous and ended up as servers, and then now are famous for being servers.
Right.
It goes beyond that because their servers only to pass the time and pay the rent until they become famous
Yeah,
television
doing
stars.
something else. Yeah,
And now they're
They
famous
can't
television
leave.
stars for being servers.
Yes.
It's a bit of a catch-22.
I like it.
Yeah.
So they also get paid. These people get like per episode rates or whatever. So
Yeah.
obviously we're not going to get into like details of numbers, but is there a standard rate for being on the show, or is it a sliding scale?
There's no standard rate. There are kind of like tiers. Like some people, we occupy more of their time, and therefore they get paid a little bit more. One of the really tough things is these guys who are waiters, waitresses, bartenders, busboys go to like premiere parties now with like Real Housewives, and they're like, great, I've got my show. Like, where's my Rolls Royce? Where's my $15 million mansion? Because
Right.
I'm a Bravo celebrity, and it just sadly, it's not fair. It doesn't work that way.
And also, a lot of the Real Housewives come in with their own riches. And
Well, no, that's exactly
Yeah.
the thing, because they showed up rich.
Right,
And
like
what-
Mauricio is like,
Yeah.
real estate king of Los Angeles or
Yeah.
whatever.
Their show is about the fact that they're rich. Your show is about the fact
You're not
that you're
rich.
not, and,
Yeah.
that you're working towards that and striving. And
Why
so-
didn't? Ooh, I got a good one though. Sorry, Julia.
Go for it.
Why didn't we see the hotel stuff from the San Diego trip? Because there's like a couple shots, and if they didn't sign releases, can't you just like blur faces or whatever?
This gets into producing these shows is always just it's nonstop heartbreak, because you're bound to a schedule for your crew. And it's a 12-hour day, and so you try to be as smart as you can about what those 12 hours are going to be. And so we wanted to see the guys in the daytime hanging out at the pool.
Of course, that was great.
We needed to see they ate dinner, and there was more stuff we shot that didn't make it into the show. And we thought we would just go kind of as deep as we can into the night at the club, and they outlasted us. So what it wound up being, our crew goes down, but our producer, who was there, like our field producer in San Diego with them, it was just late at night, and she, honestly, I don't know what she was doing, but she was still up and was like walking down the hall and heard all this noise coming from their room and realized they were still awake. So she just goes in there with her iPhone and takes a
okay.
few pictures and records a few things. And I think we did get there was a picture or two or a little
I
clip
remember
that
a
showed up on
couple
TV.
things. Yeah,
so
yeah.
that's off the producer's iPhone, and they all had to sign releases or we wouldn't have been able to show that. But we didn't have all the footage that we really would have wanted to have, because it was a one crew shoot, and the guys
I get it.
were smart
Yeah.
enough to outlast us if you can stay up late enough. But then they know, again, we're going to be there at 10 in the morning, and that's why we got to see Jax really awfully comically hungover.
What's the craziest thing Jax has ever said to you?
Oh my God.
Like,
Good question.
thanks.
The craziest thing that's true or that's not true?
It doesn't matter.
Oh, I like.
Like, I just
Not
assume,
true.
that like only
Yeah.
50%. There's only
I
like
feel like he would look you in the
true.
face and be like, "I was a Navy SEAL.
Yeah,
I killed.
like-
I killed Osama bin Laden."
If you real students of the show will know that there, on Jax's truck, there's on the back window, there's a sticker that indicates that maybe he was a Navy SEAL.
Okay.
Okay, he was actually.
Yeah, I was joking.
He was SEAL Team 6.
Yeah.
Maybe he was, maybe he wasn't, but he doesn't mind the world thinking that maybe he was. I wouldn't even know where to begin. I'm gonna have to think about that one.
At what
right.
point did you realize that this guy is like just off the reservation, unlike anyone else on reality TV?
I'll tell you what Jax brings to the table that so few men that are cast on reality TV shows do, and that I've almost never seen before, is on top of all the ways that he kind of goes after people and does bad things, the main thing with him is that he's not afraid to be vulnerable in front of the cameras. So he spent all of season 2 pursuing the hell out of Stassi and risking rejection and failing. And any other guy that I've worked with that I can really think of, like they would be afraid to risk rejection like that. And so that's the thing that blows me away about Jax, and that's why, for all the bad things he does, that's why we love Jax, because he's not afraid to be rejected on camera for us.
He seems like the one who is the most like extra on camera. Like, does he play up his craziness for TV? Like, would he have gotten that Stassi tattoo?
Oh yes, I mean he's the one. He tells us that, and it doesn't even occur to him that maybe we would want the cameras to be there. That was something he wanted to do actually before season 2 started, and we were like, no, like you wait a week so we have cameras up, and that's a lot of again, that's part of my job. Sometimes it's like we do mess with their time frames a little bit. He wanted to get his nose job before the season started, understandably, and we're like, hell no, we will be there for that. And so we just made him wait a couple weeks, and that's
He got a good nose job.
Great nose
it's
job.
It's an elegant nose job. It's very subtle.
Do you think
Very
that,
subtle.
Do you think that he and the Toms would really like spend as much time together were it not for the cameras? Like, would he need someone to go with him to the doctor's office?
Well, that's a really good question. With this group, you don't know. Sometimes, they're just such they're just so tight that way. But that's a thing that we might do. And again, in the service of getting people's thoughts spoken out loud in really innocuous ways, we might like encourage Schwartz to be there or something like that. In a way, and the way I think of it is just, again, like what helps tell the story in a way that doesn't change the story. And so it's just 10 times more fun if Schwartz is there, and otherwise it's just Jackson, some stranger.
We have to pivot to your other landmark television accomplishments.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
But before we do, I just want to say I have a pitch for the next season.
Yes.
I want to embrace, like, no reality show has created the stars and then embraced their new lives as stars. Like, it's always this whole, like, remember when Jersey Shore had this whole season where they're like pretending it's just regular kids at Jersey Shore when there's like mobs of people following them around? Because I think like the next season of Vanderpump should be like them going to those premieres, them going to their club appearances, them like getting mobbed by fans if that exists, things like that.
Peter opened the door for it when he spoke to TMZ.
He did, didn't he?
Yeah.
What did he say?
He was like,
Talked about money a little bit.
Like, yeah, like we should get paid more. Like, why don't we get? He was like saying they deserve more money.
Yeah.
I was proud of him for letting people know that they're not all secret millionaires, fake working.
Yeah, that was like definitely
I
good
don't
for
think
you.
I was in danger of being anyone's perception. Like, we've all seen Sandoval's
I'm
apartment.
about to say, he would have a maid if he could afford it.
Yeah, but I know.
Well, you know, it's a good segue though into talking about a show like The Hills, which the landscape has changed, and so this is a big show, but it's much more of a niche show. And we're not yet at the phase where it's like paparazzi hounding these kids wherever they go. Like the Hills, towards the end of it, was like paparazzi literally camped out outside of Lauren and Audrina's house 24/7. And if they stepped outside, there would be a mob, and it was like those tour buses would be driving by on a loop, like waiting for a crew to show up.
And the tone of the show was not that.
And there was a decision that was made very early on in the show, before I got there, so I can't take credit or blame for it, which was the right decision at the time, but was to keep the show off the show, which is what most of these shows do. But then the show got huge.
Yeah.
And now Audrina's still an intern at the record label and stuff like that. And driving, she like owns 2 Mercedes and a townhouse in the Hills, and that's when people started to turn on the show, I think, sensing that. And then we're in kind of the next generation of shows after that, which are a lot less fussy, I think, about that. Like The Hills was very insistent that everything that you saw was
like Real World has adjusted
exactly
in the last couple of years. They've sort of broken the fourth wall. And
that was like an MTV
like, let's
thing.
stop pretending that this is like, you know, a verite documentary.
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
Like Real Worlders were never allowed to reference previous Real Worlds on camera for a long time, but now they do it all the time.
Right. And you know, Real Housewives, like a lot of their storylines now come from, oh, so-and-so said this about me in the press.
Yeah.
And that only exists because they're on a TV show. It's marginally within the story because a lot of these women have like some kind of semi-fame or are married to famous people or were, so it kind of makes sense. And our cast, they're not there yet. They're kind of just on the cusp of like, Stassi's mad at Sheena because of something Sheena said in the press, and that becoming, it hasn't really become storyline yet.
But you retweeted stuff. The meme that I said about you is kind of like, it falls a little flat. It's just like, you're talking about a retweet now? Like, is that what's going on?
Right.
And I think it's a line. It's something that we definitely debate and talk about. What is the line? Like, where the fourth wall is definitely moving for us a little bit.
In the industry, I think, too.
Yeah, and I think what my thought is that like fans, the audience doesn't want to feel lied to in any way, form, or shape, which isn't the same as saying that they want to see like someone like me on camera ever. You know what I mean? So it's kind of like balancing that, where like not pretending, not being fussy about the show being something that it isn't, but also not kind of just losing the fact that these are relatable human beings who still have these struggles with their life. You know.
Let's pivot to Bachelor Pad.
Let's do it.
So you worked in the last season of Bachelor Pad.
I did.
So that was one with Ed when he jumped in the pool and everything.
Yeah, he lived in the pool.
He was in an aquatic ape.
An aquatic ape.
Yes,
That's what you call it.
Ed was amazing.
Okay, so like, what's the alcohol situation like on Bachelor Pad? Do you hand him a drink right when you get there?
Second good question.
Yeah.
What is the alcohol situation on Bachelor Pad?
You don't want to say what's the alcohol situation on reality TV, right?
Yeah.
Like on the one hand, you know obviously you're never forcing anyone to drink anything, but on the other hand, like it's certainly like you know it lubricates the gears and keeps things moving. So Bachelor Pad, you know, people there's just a bar there. There's just alcohol there.
And
Like a
is it
bartender?
a bartender? Is anyone? Can anyone be?
You know what it is. I don't think this spills too much, but sometimes like people are kind of filming and they want a drink, and rather than have them run like all the way across the property and like inside and somewhere else, they'll just say, "Hey, can I have a drink?" And like a PA will run and like serve them up like a.
But there's if someone wanted to drink 12 ounces of vodka, there would be no one there that says you should probably not do that.
Well.
I'm not trying to put you on the spot.
The short answer is no, and why would there be? Because we are just there. There happen to be cameras there. You guys go, and again, that's.
I don't know if you can play that there happen to be cameras there in the bachelor pad.
Right.
I mean, it's not documentary
it's
film.
a contrived environment, but really, the contrivance is that it's this formatted, structured thing.
Yeah.
But then everything else is like, you guys go.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? And there's a bar over there, there's a bathroom over there, there's a pool and a hot tub. There certainly is a time if someone's had way too much the hell to drink.
Without naming any names, have you ever had to talk to a cast member about illicit drug use?
Yes, for sure.
I'm talking about up the nose stuff.
Absolutely, and yes.
On Bachelor Pad or on?
I won't say the show.
Oh.
But yes. There are times when it's actually become part of the show. On a couple different shows I've worked on, where it's actually made it onto TV, like cast drug use and stuff like that.
Yeah.
We don't have that much time, so let's throw some Below Deck questions at you.
Yeah.
We love Below Deck on this show.
It's coming back.
It's fun. It is coming back. They're currently filming.
And what has changed about it?
So I'm not working on the current season. I know it'll be a mix of some of the cast members that you know and love, and some new people, and that's about all I know, really.
Why? Let me just ask a question.
Go for it.
Why is that show working?
I think one pitch that I heard for that show is that it's Sir on the Sea.
But they don't really have this kind of like friend history group thing.
They don't have that at all. But what they do. So on Vanderpump Rules, one of the hardest things in the world to get is a cast member actually waiting on a table.
It's never in the show.
That, you have to flood that table with lights, and then there's a crew around, and now you're disturbing the other 10 tables around it. And we get some of that. It's also not all that interesting to air a lot of that on the show, and when we film as much as we can. But it's actually, like, from a production standpoint, difficult, because you're just ruining the whole atmosphere of the whole restaurant in that area during that time. And we do plenty of that. But on Below Deck, what you have is just endless amount of work, and those guys work so hard, and I think like we really respect that. I've never respected a cast more just in terms of how hard they work, because they're working like 16-18 hour shifts. They're busting their ass, whether it's the stewardesses or the deckhands, and they just work so hard, and I think that really comes through. And the fact, so yeah, that's not the same like major league conflicts. You cheated on you lied and betrayed me and all the stuff, but the work drama is so real and so relatable and petty and small, but every detail's captured.
There's one of the things that my mom actually said about that show that I think she kind of distilled it to a nice little nugget. It was like, there's an upstairs downstairs relationship to it. There's like a Downton Abbey kind of like, like upstairs downstairs thing, which it's not relatable, but you can always kind of like feel that.
We love characters, and whether it's reality or scripted or whatever, who have their noses pressed up against the glass, and then those moments where like now Eddie gets to do the slide,
right?
Or like cats are eating her scallops on the beach or whatever, and so we love that. Like, yeah, these kids, and they bust their ass, and it's not theirs, but then they have their moments where they get it, and I think that's really fun.
Are there extra people on the boat helping out? Like an extra deckhand or two?
There's, the boat is really it's a big, awesome boat if you're like staying on. But when you throw the crew on there and everything, there is no room for extra people. There's a couple like extra. There's like an engineer, and these people will kind of cross frame, and you'll see them. So there's really only one person that was not a character on the show who worked full-time on the boat. Why
is somebody motivated to be a charter on that television program?
So
great question.
It's a good question.
You said great, man. Give me great.
It's a terrific question.
There you go.
It's great.
There you go. Thanks.
I think a few reasons. Like, there's just people who want to be on TV, and that's why these shows work. And then there's also other little things, like generally to charter one of those boats, you have to do it for a longer time frame, but you can do it. You're allowed to do it for a little bit of a shorter time frame if you want to on these shows, and so then it doesn't quite cost as much and stuff like that. But honestly, I think
and there's the stock guy who wants to use it as a marketing thing.
I read the list. It's still like $40,000 to be on the show.
Yeah,
discount,
or more. It's heavily discounted. You have to give them a little discount to get the cameras in their face and all that stuff.
It takes a certain person that's like, I want to go on vacation, I want to rent a yacht, and I want that yacht to be filled with production dudes, and I want to be filmed, and I want it to be on national television.
kind of insane.
I don't want to get paid for it.
And what about-
like, what kind of
I have
vacation
a
is
little
that?
Easter egg for you.
Ooh.
There is a guy who is one of the charter guests on the last season of Below Deck who has also appeared on Vanderpump Rules several times and actually works at SIR.
You know, Jade from The Bachelor was on the show this
Yeah, I
year.
saw that. I had no idea.
I don't know who that is.
Me neither.
Could it be that Arizona nightclub guy?
He was on with it was the dog Compass, and what was that woman's name? So basically, it was this guy who was he was like a sugar daddy to this woman, and then she brought her
I
whole family on,
remember
and he
that.
was part of
Yeah.
that family, and she had her dog, and this guy this guy is a barback at SIR.
Wow.
Nice.
Yeah,
Crazy.
and so I actually showed up. I did about half the season in the field of Below Deck, and I show up, and the first day I get on the boat, and the first guy I see is this dude, and I'm like, I know you from
That's
my
so
other
funny.
show that I just stopped working.
Have you ever gone to the Bravo executives and been like, why don't we just have a show called Pump?
Again, it's so much about, like, there wouldn't be a show called Vanderpump Rules if it wasn't for the specific people specifically working there and the stories they had to tell. And so there's this whole casting process that went into greenlighting that, and it was and they're talking to everyone working at the restaurant. But Lisa kind of knew. She's like, there's this one clique of people that work here that is particularly interesting. And that's what makes it so. You can't just drop cameras down and say, let's make a show at a restaurant. It has to be like that special lightning in a bottle thing. So, we're talking to people at Pump all the time. And
Looks like it's hopping on Friday nights. I drove past there the other day.
it's hopping. It's
Yeah.
hopping. It's
I
going
wanna
on.
go- it's a
And-
beautiful
and, James
restaurant.
Kennedy is DJing there a lot now.
He is?
Yeah.
What?
And he'll be very happy that I said that
What?
out loud.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Shout to Shake.
James Kennedy?
What's his song though? Shake It Off? No, that's Taylor
Shake That.
Swift. Shake
Shake
that,
That.
shake that.
a good
I love
song.
after they were talking about it, and Sheena's like, "You are just a brilliant lyricist. Like, how did you come up with Shake That?
So
Who would have
good.
thunk?"
Thank you so much for coming by. We could
Yeah,
keep
man.
you here for like another
Oh my
7
God,
hours.
what a pleasure.
Yeah,
Thank you
but
guys.
we really appreciate this.
Super fun.
Really a pleasure. Thank you guys.
Thanks, John Carr.
All right, do we fist bump at the end
Yeah.
again?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right, thank you.
You see, every podcast we put on YouTube comes with this fancy graphic listing all the topics that your favourite Grantland podcasters are talking about. If you click the topics, you can skip around and choose your own podcast adventure. Subscribe to the Grantland Podcast channel to blaze your own trail on this sonic journey.